Okay, so as we move on with this animation, the walk cycle, we're going to start adjusting this character a little bit more. So right now I've just got the arms and the legs moving. But when we move with our entire bodies. We get some counterbalance so that we can make sure to keep upright. So let me grab this. I'm going to bring this down just a little bit forward. As this character's walking, I may lean them forward just a touch. And they probably won't have their legs bending quite that much. If this is just walking, we generally tend to bend our knees a little bit less when we're walking upright versus when we're running or sprinting. And then you lean a lot further forward and get a lot lower. Because you're literally throwing your weight forward and then just pedaling your feet to keep caught up. And so you stay in this perpetual balance where you're leaning forward and then pushing into it. But with this being mostly upright, I'm going to come to this first frame. And with the feet where they are now, it's a little bit here at the center. So once again, I'm just going to start at this point. There's going to be this lift up right here. And then at 24, we're about the same point. And then 48, I'll just hit the S right there. But right here in the center someplace, like as this starts to rise up, oh, let me make sure I don't hit the wrong key. There's this preparation for the leg to lift, where the hip will actually come up just a little bit. That's right there. And then come back down just a little bit. So I'll bring that down just a touch. That's a little too far, so let me grab this, hit the S key again. So then ease that down just a little bit, and then there's a little bit of that rock back the other way. And I'm kind of over exaggerating at the moment, but it's getting me something. So you can see this is really, really hard. When we walk, it's generally not this tight. Even if it does have that much movement, if you notice, it's exaggerated because the upper body is bouncing with it. Now, the way this works in real life is our body does something called Contrapposto, where you have one hip go down and the related shoulder going up. So you get this pinch on one side and a stretch on the other. So your body kind of helps auto balance itself. And so if that's happening, anytime that this hip is about to go up, we need the spine to go in the opposite direction. So I'm going to actually grab these two joints. So I grabbed one and then shift selected the second one. And so if it starts here, I'll just hit the S key. And we'll do the same thing. So at 24, we'll have it the same, and 48, we'll have it the same. But here, as it starts to rise, I want a correlating movement within the spine to keep the body intact. So right here, as that one rises, I want that correlating move to keep everything kind of intact. So it's not much, but it's helping a little bit. And you see it's looking a little bit wonky. And so this is another place where I can play with the hypergraph, the graph editor. So here I can open up the graph editor and adjust it there, or I can even grab keys and slide them. So a way to do this, if I shift and left click that key, I can then drag that and then try that again and see how the movement is. And maybe I need to extend that a little further. And I may still need to make it so that it's not quite so heavy. And you see there's a pop there, so that's not working either. But this is something that you can play around with. I'm not going to worry too much about finessing it right now. I just want to make you aware of stuff that you can do. So the issue that I would have right here actually is less to do with the side to side, because there's a little bit of that and it seems to be following, which is not really a good thing. I want the body leading into it like you're prepared for it. So even more than this side to side, one thing that needs to be dealt with is actually getting a twist in here, because right now there isn't one. We've got some movement, but there's not really that twist that really correlates. So yes, there's some up and down, but there's also a twist involved. So let's look at that twist shape a little bit. So right here, the hip should actually be back just a little bit. Maybe not quite this far, but like I said, I'm just kind of playing around with it at the moment. And at this point, I'm going to let me Control Z, copy, come to the final frame, paste, so that it ends up in the same spot. Here, I'm going to have it twist back just a little bit. Here, as it's leading into it, I want to make sure that that twist is starting to come forward a little bit. That's kind of leading the leg. And maybe that's too far. Yeah, so really at this point I want it to be at its max. So back here I'll have it back just a little bit where it's doing the swings. So it swings, comes forward, and then there's the step. And then here's this. A little bit back. And then this one comes forward. And once again, this isn't great, but you're getting the idea. Even with that side to side, I can tell that that's too much. And so this is where I can come through and pull up the animation editor, graph editor. And if I see these curves are going, just too far or too high. So, for example, the rotation up and down right there, I can actually bring that down simply by grabbing it and dragging. Keep in mind, if you go to the side, it's going to create a new frame, so you want to keep it in the same line. But you can even adjust it that other way too, to kind of control those curves so that it's not as extreme. Now the shoulders are going like crazy, legs are feeling a lot better. So let me take a look at those. So I will go to 4, shift select to get those two sections. And you can see on both of them, it's a little bit high, so I will grab both of these and, grab them one at a time though, and bring that down. Let me isolate these selections really fast. Bring that down. And bring both of these up. And by the way, if you notice that jarring right here, that's what causes some of those jarring motions as well. And so this is where you can take it. If I isolate that rotation, and I can actually kind of smooth out in between a little bit more. Same with this rotation, grab that and smooth it out a little bit more. And even the pop here where it's kind of sudden, I can adjust that. If I need to really isolate it, I can make these changes in between and try and get it working out. And that may be going up too far, but you get the idea. This is an area that it's an art form in and of itself. There's a reason animators are specialists. And so I encourage you, if this is the direction you want to go in, really play around with this to try and get something that looks good. Right now I'm taking you through some of the basics of just kind of the mechanics of doing it. And you see there's still a lot of problems. But this is giving you the mechanics, but I encourage you on your own, really play around with it. See how you can get this to feel like a solid walk cycle, where right now it's a little bit jerky. Let me move on to the hands really fast. The hands, in the same way, don't just slide. We don't want them sliding from point to point. Let me grab this hand right here. And so right now it's just sliding from point to point. Now I do want a bit of a swing. Right here at the back end of that swing, I may want it to pop up just a little bit. It also feels like it's going a little too hard, and so it pops right there, as you can see. So this needs to actually be coming up a little bit anyway, and maybe not even that far back. So now with the body in movement, I can see more how this works. And that goes way up, so I will delete it. Bring this here. And then I may do something like let it sag as it goes down and under. Not a lot, but just a little bit. So it goes back and swings out. Grab this hand, kind of do something similar. Where that's overlocked. So bring this up. S. Do a copy and paste. Bring that forward, and actually I'll let it swing down to the back, so the other one I'll fix as well. So there, and let that swing down and bring it up. This one I'll actually do in reverse, so I'll have it swing as it comes down. So it'll come here, swing back, and I don't want the hand tilting back quite that far. And I can do like a little after thing where I have it swing just a touch. But this one I'm going to delete. And so in that way it'll come back and then forward. And I can adjust that as I need to. But you get the idea. Anyway, I can also, if I really want to, add in like a big head bob. So this is turning into a herky-jerky thing because I need to take more time to actually polish it out. But you get the idea. Get these. For this one, I'll have the head bob just a little to the side. This one a little bit to the side the other way. And you see I can build it up. And right now it's awful. But it's still a walk cycle. Let me grab these knees. On the same note, you can grab the locators and have them cause interactions. So right here where the foot's back, I may leave that right there. So I'll hit the S key. As it comes up, I may actually do something like bending that knee in. And as it gets to this point, I may actually bend it down after it hits. I'll have it bow out just a touch. And then copy and paste. Once again, it's just adding in some extra movement. So now it's really getting a little bit jerky. Like there's something wrong with that knee. And just for fun, this one I'm just going to make a shaky knee. So it'll hit, have a shake, and then go. So it hits here, has a shake here, 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 and then hold steady. As it goes up, that one will bow in as well. Actually, that one will bow out as it goes up. And then we'll do a copy, paste. And so now I'm just being silly with the walk cycle, but you see it's a little minor, but it's slowly adding character. And there's this weird shoulder pop here, so yet again, I've got too much twist in here, too much angle. But I'm going to grab this right now, bring it in. And this one I'm just going to leave there. This one is going to have a little bit more movement, just so we can play with it. So hit S there. As the arm comes forward, I'll have that stay steady about here. About here, I'm going to bow that out, so it'll come forward. And then I'm going to have it actually tuck in. And paste. And that's the fun part of building it up. I can be shifting things and making adjustments as I go. So even as I look at this now and I go, well, that's working okay, but the hand's not coming in. Let me grab that right here. That's there, that's fine, but I actually want this to come forward and in. So hit that key. So now it's this movement in, and that goes out a little too wide now. So I'll bring that to about here. So it goes in and then back out, and you can see that then I get this nice range of motion. Once again, I could continue working on this, or I could have defined it by doing a different method and having done the key poses, like how is this going to look at the main points of this. There's a lot of different ways to approach this. The idea is that you're creating a cycle that's a looping cycle. And to see this really clearly, that frame on 48 is the exact same as 1. So if I actually lower it down for viewing purposes to 47 and then cycle it, instead of 48, it's hitting 1. And so that goes straight through. And there's still a little bit of a pop, so I'd need to work on the curves. But you get the idea. I'm creating a walk cycle. I encourage you to find a rig, play around with it, and go through this process of doing walk cycles, do run cycles, make the character jump, get them to move in space. Have fun with it. Once again, the more you play around with the tools, the better you're going to get at it. And also as part of this, do observation. Look at people walking, look at people running. Look at, on YouTube, there are tons and tons of walk cycles and things like that in slow motion, so you can really analyze the movement. So that's it for this video, kind of putting this walk cycle together. I'm going to do one more video for this module showing you how to do a play blast, so we'll come back for that.